Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Horseback Archery podcast with me, Linda, and
And me, Johan.
yes, and today's guest, Hanna. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm super honored to be here.
Is it right that you are from German?
Yeah, exactly. I'm living in the southern part of Germany, close to Munich. It's a city that many people know from the Oktoberfest.
Oh, south of German. It's so beautiful there with all the mountains.
Yeah, it's very nice. We have a beautiful view of the mountains, a lot of lakes, and it's super green in summer, and in winter we have snow. So honestly, quite nice place to live. I consider myself very lucky.
It sounds really nice.
Can you please tell me a little bit about yourself and how you did get in contact with this sport?
Yeah, okay. I'm 24 years old and I'm living on a old farm in Bavaria. We have 7 horses here and 2 cats and some chickens. And I really enjoy the farm life and taking care of the animals. Together with my mom, I have a small company called Pferd und Bogen, which literally translates to horse and bow. And the name really says basically everything that you need to know about us because we do everything with horses and bows. So we do archery, we do horse riding, and we do horseback archery. My mother also does a lot of hippotherapy. So that's horse riding therapy for people with disabilities, which is really great work. And I do archery for kids and youth, and horseback archery for youth and adults. Also, I'm a yoga instructor. That's something many people don't know about me. But currently, I don't work as such, but I enjoy to include the yoga in my teaching. And I am a Nemeti horseback archery coach. So I did my coaching exam in Hungary with Christoph Nemeti. That's where I learned how to coach and teach archery and horseback archery. Furthermore, I go to university as well. I study to be a teacher for English and geography for kids, and both of my subjects I really like a lot, and I think they're very important in nowadays world. And in my free time, I like to go to the gym to lift weights. I like driving my motorcycle, doing yoga, and obviously riding, working with horses, and doing horseback archery. And you asked how long I've been doing the sport for. So horseback archery itself, I started in end of 2018. That's when I met Christoph Nemeti, and he really inspired me to start with horseback archery. I've already done archery at that point, so I started doing archery when I was 10, and I started it because I was really interested in it, and I really liked fantasy novels and movies. So I thought it looked very cool. And then I discovered quickly that archery really helps with my ADHD, to teach me how to focus and be more calm. And also, I had back pain and back issues at the time. And the archery also really helped to improve that. And then I immediately fell in love with it. And riding, well, we have horses ever since I'm little. And then at some point I was like, hey, I could combine that and like in the movies sit on the horse and shoot. That's super fun. I think this is how it happened for a lot of people. And then, yeah, and then I met Christoph when I was 18 and I saw true horseback archery for the first time. And I was super amazed by how fast and accurate Christoph shoots and this beautiful technique. And I was like, I want to be like that. I want to be able to shoot like that. And that's when it all started with the horseback archery.
So you actually started during the COVID?
Yeah, it was a little bit like some parallel time. Yeah, so my 2018 was still fine. So I had a seminar with Christoph Nemeti. My mom gave it to me for my 18th birthday. And I didn't think anything by it when she told me, like, we're going to have a horseback archery seminar with this guy. He's like European and world champion. I was like, okay, sounds cool. Yeah. And then I met him and then we started. I was lucky enough to be able to go to Hungary despite the pandemic because, like, on the countryside in Hungary, it wasn't so strict. So it was okay for me to go. Luckily, after graduating school, I went to Hungary and I stayed like 2 or 3 months with Christoph. like a whole summer and learned horseback archery.
What's kind of like going to Christoph and then you got stuck because of the epidemic, and then you had to learn his ways all the way.
Very, very awful things. Yeah, yeah. A little bit like that. But it was lucky in a way because originally I planned to go to Canada after my graduation, and then that was sort of the backup plan to go to Hungary and do horseback archery instead. I'm not sure if I wouldn't have done that if I would ever started to do it as an actual competitive sport. So there's always positive things, even about the most negative things like the pandemic. And I had plenty of time being stuck at home to practice archery and really get started with the sport.
That's kind of interesting because, like in Sweden, a lot of people stop with the horseback archery under COVID, and instead you talk about get into the sport instead.
Yeah, exactly. That's I mean, it was difficult with competitions and such, but for me, when you just started and you just actually need to practice at home and just practice knocking and loading, it's ideal when you cannot do anything else because what else were you supposed to do? So it was great opportunity to spend some time practicing the knocking and practicing the shooting from the ground because essentially when you start with horseback archery, you just have to practice from the ground like a lot.
I know that you compete internationals. We have met in Hungary, but I guess you're also competing in German. And can you please tell us a little bit about the difference for you competing in German vs international?
Yeah. So for me, I really like international competitions. So I've competed more internationally than nationally, actually. So I've been on more competitions in other countries than in Germany. There's multiple reasons for that. Thing is that in Germany, you always need to bring your own horse to competitions because there's usually no renting horses available. And at the time, it was not really possible for me to bring my own horse because none of the horses were in the ideal condition mentally and physically at the same time to do horseback archery and to be able to be transported and go to the competition. So I didn't really have a horse to do it with for a long time. Another reason is that in Germany, we have a bit of different rules and I don't like them as much. I personally prefer the IHIA rules. And also, if I get a result in Germany with the different rules that we have here, I cannot use that for gradings and such. And for me, that's kind of important. So then I thought to myself, hey, listen, if I spend money and time anyway, I might as well spend a little more and go abroad and compete internationally, which is super great because you get to meet so many people from all over the world and it's like a culture crash and you get to experience also the country and travel at the same time and visit such beautiful places all over the world. So that's like reasons for me why I prefer competing internationally. And for now, I've competed a lot of times in Hungary. Must have been the first time was in 2019. And then I've been there almost every year except for 2022. Yeah, and sometimes multiple times in the same year. And then I've been to France, to Alain Legal's place. Beautiful venue, really great competition, wonderful horses at the Gouchot Open. And then I've been to Switzerland one time, which was also very, very nice. And then, of course, highlights. I went to Mongolia last year for the World Championships and I was beginning of this year I was in South Africa. There I've also got the chance to compete in two smaller national competitions there. So yeah, so the countries I've been to for competing are Hungary, France, Poland, Switzerland, Mongolia, and South Africa.
So you've really been around.
Yeah, and I love it. It's so cool to to have this opportunity.
So you can say that this sport has really taken you around the world.
Yes, and I hope it will take me to many places more. My list is very, very long, which countries I would still like to visit and compete in. But we'll see where the sport will take me.
Is it any country or specific place you would recommend for someone that's going international for the first time?
Yeah, I think Christoph's place, so Hungary, the Nemeti Academy,
Yeah.
is a very good start because their horses are professionals. They will not let you down. They know what their job is, and the tracks are great, super safe, and there's also lots of coaches there, and they have like clinics before the competition usually, so you can spend more time there, you can learn, and you can get to know your horse before the competition. And the second place I'd recommend is Alain Legal's place in France at Gauchot, because there is the same. So there it's very nice, and the horses are super well trained, and everybody's very friendly also. So those two places I recommend to start competing internationally.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
Now we need to go to planning.
Absolutely.
I'm actually never been outside of Sweden to compete, actually.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. So many people are like, yeah, I'm not good enough to compete internationally. Listen, on my first international competition, I got 7 points on raid and 0 points on tower. So don't worry about it. You can go, it's fine. And everybody starts somewhere. And in a way, you have to look at it like that. Does it really matter if you have 0 points in Sweden or 0 points in Hungary? Anyway, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So just go. Like, I encourage people to be brave and go. The only thing is you must be safe on the horse. So if you, because it's not great to fall off the horse in another country, that complicates things.
I would say it's no fun falling off anyway, no matter where you are.
Yeah, but it's less fun when you're very far away. So I recommend if you have good riding skill, if you're safe on the horse, don't mind so much about the archery, just go and have fun. That's what I always say to people.
Would you say there's a difference between the horses in different countries?
Yeah, that's a great question. If horses are different in other countries, people have asked me that before, and I've thought about it a little. I think, in a way, it's the same with people, right? There is sort of a pattern with the nationality, but there's always exceptions. And in the end, it depends on the individual person more than it depends on your nationality. And the same goes for horses. I think the horses, it doesn't depend so much in which country they live, but rather the individual horse, and factors like their breeding, their owners, and how they've been trained have a much bigger influence on their behavior and their character than the country they live in. So the only thing that I can say is that in the Europe, it seems to be like how I just described it, that it's not so important, but there are exceptions. For example, Mongolia obviously was a totally different experience. In Mongolia, the horses are very different than what we are used to in Europe. They are very hardy, super enduring, strong, and incredibly fast. They can go for days without water, without food. They just run free. They're like wild horses there, and they have super strong character and mindset. And I was surprised how well you can actually ride them, even though they have such a strong character and they're so wild in their behavior. So, for example, the Mongolian horses don't understand so much when you want to give them cuddles or pet them or scratches. Most of them are quite confused about that because they don't know this concept. So some of them got to enjoy it with us Europeans and Americans. They're like, oh, it's actually kind of nice. But a lot of them didn't even want that. So they're fine with being touched for the purpose of working with them, saddling them, riding them. But if there's no purpose behind it, just for pure pleasure, they'd rather not. So that's a bit strange for us because our horses are really used to that and really like it. And also, they don't understand if you want to give them a snack like carrots or something like that. They just eat what grows there. So they would refuse to eat any kind of fruit or vegetables that you would offer them,
Ah.
where our horses would go crazy about it and be like, gimme, gimme, gimme. And these horses were like, ew, what's that? Get that out of my face right now. And they also don't understand if you offer them water. So if you like hold a bucket in front of their nose, Like after you've ridden them, they just look at you like, yeah, that's water. What do you want me to do now? Right? So that was totally different.
So in Mongolia, they pretty much just round them up, wild horses, before the contest, and then you get to choose one.
Yeah, sort of like that,
Huh.
but they have been ridden before, like the same as they do with Mustangs, for example. They catch them at some point when they're young and they break them in a way. So they just put a saddle on top and they just sit on top until the horse stops trying to get the rider off. And then they ride them. They teach them the basics: left, right, stop, go faster, go slower. And then they let them free again. And then they repeat that every time they take them out. And over time, they become more docile and they're more okay with being ridden. So they are not like nasty. They don't bark, they don't bite and kick, at least not the ones that I've been in contact with. But like at the end of the day, they just take off the bridle on the saddle and they let them free. And if they know that they need them for the next day, then sometimes what they will do is that they will tie two horses together, so they have an easier time finding them again. That sounds a bit cruel for us Europeans. We're like, what? They tie the horses together and things like that. But I mean, we are the ones that hold them in captivity. So I think it's always a matter of perspective. And the Mongolian people just have a total different understanding of horses than we do. For them, they're working animals, and for us, horses are pets mostly. And it's just very, very different. And it's not that they don't care, they care a lot about their horses in a way. They're very important to them, but in a very different way than the horses are for us. And I think it must be like that because their horses die, they get eaten by wolves. So, in a way, they cannot afford to be so attached to an individual horse, but the horses themselves are crucial to their survival.
Yeah. I must say, it sounds like a perfect example for culture crash.
Yes, it really was. It was very intense, and I was honestly a little shocked how little understanding some of the people that went to the competition from Europe or America had for a different culture. And they just went there and wanted to force or apply their own culture in a totally different country. And I was like, hey, listen, guys, we are the guests here, and you just gotta be a bit more open minded and try to see it from their point of view. But I think we are so biased, we are so in our own mindset and cultures, and we don't even realize that there's no such thing as universal norm or universal truth because it can be so different in different countries. And I think when you go somewhere else to another country, be open minded, listen to the people, watch and learn, and try to let go of your own background a little more, or at least be aware that you have your own ideas about things and not necessarily the same for other people.
Just because you don't cuddle with the horse, it doesn't mean you are hurting it. It's a big difference.
Yeah, and that they just don't have the time to train the horse over 2 or 3 years and start with the halter and then start to launch them and then put the saddle and then take the saddle off and be like, oh, what a good horse. No, they have 20, 30 horses. This is about survival every day. They just put the saddle on and they get on and they tell the horse, deal with it. And to us, it seems super cruel to just break the mind of a horse like that in a way. And it is. But it's just different country, different culture, different traditions. And it doesn't mean that we have to do it like that. We can afford to do it differently and maybe in a better way for the horses, so we should. But you cannot go to another country and force them to do it your way. That's just not how it works.
Yeah, I think we all should see other culture and get a little bit open-minded, open our eyes from it. It's not that one culture is more right or wrong or the other one.
Yeah, I think it's really great.
But do you compete anything in German then?
Yeah, I try to get like 1 or 2 competitions per year. And I've done a competition with one of my own horses in Germany. That was very cool and a great experience for the horse and me, I think. And I'm currently training a young horse. He's my own horse, my first actual own horse, and he will be ready soon. I wanted to start competing with him this year, and then I thought, hey, what's one more year to actually give him the time to truly trust me and to truly be ready for it, and then to better do it right from the start instead of having the first competition be an absolute nightmare for him. But I hope next year I can start competing with him. I mean, I would start with competitions in Germany and then I will go internationally. But the thing also for me is a lot of competitions in Germany are actually further away than it is for me to go to Hungary. So it's also a bit of geography thing, right? Because Germany is a very long country from south to north, and I live all the way in the south. So if I want to go to the center of Germany, then it's already like 400, 500, 600 kilometers. And that's super far because me personally, I don't like to have horses in the trailer for such a long time. And I think everybody has to make their own decisions. How long is it okay to put my horse in a trailer? But yeah, I've competed nationally. I would say 4, 5, 6 competitions, and I like to do postal matches at home if I get the chance.
I'm so curious, what kind of horse do you have? Can you tell us a bit about him?
Okay, so his name is Hieronymus, but everybody calls him Hero. And he is a Freiberger, so that's a Swiss breed, and it's sort of a mix between cold blood and warm blood. So the best of both worlds, so to say. So he's calm and steady, like a cold blood, but he has energy and motivation like a warm blood. And I think in his case, he really got the best of both worlds. And I think he is very curious and open minded, and he loves attention. So I think that he could be ideal competition horse. So we will see, and I hope to even be in Hungary with him maybe next year or the year after that. And I'm currently doing my towing license, so I'm allowed to drive with a trailer, and then we're ready to go.
So you're planning to have him running very slow at tower and then very fast at raid.
Yeah, I already teach him that with 2 different voice commands and 2 different canter leads.
Ah, nice.
So on the left canter, like with the left lead, and then I have a specific voice command and a specific way that I start him to canter. He goes slower, like 16 seconds, 17, 18. He can go super slow, but then the canter is very uncomfortable. And for the raid to go faster, I let him go on the right lead and I start him differently. And there's a different voice command, and then he can go quite fast. Only problem is he's young, so he tends to get overly excited if I let him go fast. So he can be. I was surprised the first time that I let him go fast because he's still like lots of cold blood, so he's very heavy. So honestly, I didn't expect him to be that fast. But if I'd have to guess, I think he can manage 8 seconds for sure. I was very surprised. So we'll see how it goes on the track, and I hope that he can differentiate the 2 different things. But I think if you teach a horse well from the start, and if you always connect it with a routine and with a voice command, then they can totally learn to do both things really, really well. But we'll see how that works.
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea. But I must go back to when you were talking about Germany doesn't have the same rules as IHAA. It made me very curious. Would you like to tell us more about that?
Yeah, I can talk a little about. So in Germany, we actually do horseback archery for quite a long time, even before IHIA existed. And there is a rule book that before IHIA rules were invented, and some people in Germany don't agree with the IHIA rules, and they want to keep their old rules. So the Steppenreiter rules, so the Steppenreiter is the national association for horseback archery in Germany. And the Steppenreiter rulebook is similar to the old IHAA rules. So to give you a specific example, the tower track from IHAA has rules with the 3 arrow rule. So you must lose 3 arrows on the 90 meters to have counted run. And the target faces on the tower track from IHIA has 5 zones. And the Steppenreiter rules in Germany is no such thing as the free arrow rules. So it's okay to only shoot one arrow, for example, and the target faces only have 3 zones, how they used to be also in the old IHAA rules. And this is, for example, one major difference. And then the time limits are a little bit different. In general, the German Steppenreiter rules lean a bit more towards speed and less shooting, and the IHIA rules lean a bit more to less speed and more shooting. And my personal problem with the Steppenreiter rules is that the tower track for me involves more shooting and slower speed. And I think what I like about horseback archery is that you, like we just talked about, have the horse go slower on one track and faster on the other, and not just let the horses always run the same speed. And in the Steppenreiter rules, you can do that, and it's even advantage in tower track to go quite fast and not to shoot so much. So this is a little like an example of how they are different.
Does Germany have a lot of practitioners, and are horseback archery well spread around the country?
It's not a lot of people. We have about 100 members in the national organization, Die Steppenreiter. I would have to look it up. I think it's a little more, 100 and something, but for sure not 200 members. So if you compare that to the size of Germany in the population, that's really not a lot. However, it is well spread. So there is like different spots all over Germany where it's where people do horseback archery. So we have all the way in the south, like me, and then we have all the way like close to Berlin, and also in the west. But still, Germany is a big country, so for some people, it would be very far away, the closest horseback archery facility. And then the problem is that when you look at competing, then we have maybe 50 people that compete actively, I would guess. And internationally, it's very few. It's about 10 people that compete internationally. And the major problem is that we don't have coaches. We don't have people that teach. And I think that's a problem that a lot of people have in different countries. Because if you don't have coaches, then it's difficult for people to start. Because honestly, to just at home, like buy any bow and you have a horse and you start, some people do that, but that's very difficult. And it's difficult to start like that.
So it's pretty much only you that's coaching in Germany that you know of, or is it a few at least?
No, I'm not the only one actually. And in the last years, we've become more, but I'm the only one that does it as an actual job, as an actual profession to make their main income from that. So, close to me on the other side of Munich, we have Sven Frank. He's from Pferdenarrisch, is his school, and he's a close friend of mine. We also love to do things together, and now we're gonna have like a small battle between the two horseback archery schools pretty soon. I'm very excited for that. And he's also Namathi coach, so he also did his Namathi coaching exam together with me. That's how we met. And then there's, of course, Andrea Seidel. She is in Saxon, so more to the northeast of Germany. And she is doing trail rides, Western riding, and also horseback archery. And she's the first one, as far as I know, that was teaching horseback archery to people. But I'm not entirely sure if she does it on a regular basis. And then there is family Pfister in Steigerwald, and they have a 3D parkour for traditional archery where people can go and rent equipment and go do archery in the forest. It's very nice, and they host competitions, and they also have like multiple times a year they have beginner classes and seminars for horseback archery so people can get introduced to it. However, as far as I know, they don't teach on a regular basis. So they don't have a group of students that come every week. So for that, Sven and I, as far as I know, I don't want to step on anyone's toes in case I forgot someone or I'm saying something wrong. But I think that that me and Sven are sort of the only ones that are teaching on a regular basis where people come like every week or every second week to take classes.
Then you are a few.
Yeah.
I think it's so important to have regular practice and for a trainer. I think it's so easy to lose your motivation when you don't always training by yourself and never get any feedback. I think competing for a coach regularly is a huge difference between actually moving forward and drop the motivation.
Yes, I absolutely agree.
Yeah, and even to get the routine in.
The routine, I absolutely agree. And I think people underestimate the importance of a professional and good coach in horseback archery. So I think I can see with my students how quickly they evolve and how clean technique they shoot if they come on a regular basis. And when I compare to myself, when I didn't have a coach that I could have lessons with every week, so I saw Christoph maybe once or twice a year, and then you get feedback and then you practice alone. But as Christoph always says, if you practice alone, you practice your mistakes. That's just facts, unfortunately. And you practice your mistakes so you can do your mistakes really, really well. And it's super difficult to get them out again. And I agree that teaching and coaching is such major key to expand our sport. So I think for example, what Christoph Nemeti is doing, two things for that at the moment, that he has this train the trainer concept where you can go to Hungary and you can do two modules. What each is a week long, and you can learn to be a coach, and you take an exam for it, and then you can call yourself a Nemeti coach. It is very tough. Many people have failed this, to be honest, because you have to know a lot about horses, horse riding, archery, horseback archery, safety, everything. And I think we have a very complex sport. So, in a way, you must be a horse riding coach and an archery coach and an horseback archery coach. And this is also how Christoph does it. So, firstly, you learn to be a horse riding coach, and then you learn to be an archery coach, and then you learn to be a horseback archery coach. So, it's a lot of stuff you have to learn. And then the cool thing is, for example, right now, Christoph is in Malaysia, if I'm not mistaken, and he is doing that there. So he comes to Malaysia, and then people there can do that clinic, that train the trainer program with him, so they can learn to be horseback archery coaches. That's super awesome. And then the second thing that Christoph is doing to expand our sport or to help people improve is that now he has this online learning platform for people that don't have opportunity to train with a coach, that are just too far away. And there they have like learning videos and exercises and so on. So you have to pay for it, obviously, because it's professional coaching online. You can get it from many other sports. And now finally we have it for horseback archery. So people can actually go online and do online horseback archery learning. And yeah, those are the two things that Nemeth Academy is working on at the moment and providing for the sport. And I think people should spread the word about it so that people realize that there's opportunities to learn and improve, and to either become a coach or to find a coach or to get online coaching.
Yeah, I was looking a bit on the news site when they were releasing it.
Hmm.
It's a lot of videos and a lot to look through in the future. I think it's going to be very interesting to look through it.
Yes, and the idea is also that there's going to be opportunities for coaches like me to do online coaching. So, for example, somebody can work with this platform, do their exercises, learn at home, and then they can send a video of themselves shooting. And I then, as a coach, can look at the video and give personal feedback, personal exercises, and correction for the student. So, to have like long distance online coaching, sort of, but make it more personal. So like two ways, not only watching videos and trying to do it, but also you do it and you send the video to the coach. So that will be the next step then. And I think that could be great opportunity for both coaches and students, because for me it's also hard to make a living of horseback archery coaching, because it's a very specific sport, and to find so many people in one place come to my place is well, it's difficult. But if people could send me videos, also that I can make money from online coaching in a way. We will see where it goes.
I like the fact you say a lot of people have failed the exam. That means it's not just pay a fee and show up just to get the diplomacy, but you actually really need to pass the exam.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be honest, like if people are worried about that, if somebody has the Nemethy coach title, if they are a Nemethy coach, first of all, if you are not sure if they really are or they just say they are, you can write to the Nemethy Academy and ask them to confirm this. So if you hear a name and you don't know for sure, is this person really a Nemethy coach, you can look it up or you can ask Nemethy Academy. And if they actually are, I can guarantee you that they know a lot about horseback archery because the exams are actually quite difficult. And I like it. I agree with you so much that you don't just pay and you get a piece of paper and you go, but you really have to know what you're doing. And I think that's important because it's a safety issue, right? First of all.
Yeah, it really is. And also of what I've heard, they have this it's not one teacher who knows everything, but everyone are specific on their areas, like a horse trainer or an archery or
Yeah, it's specific, and still also important to know is that not all coaches or not all Nemethy coaches are the same. We all have our individual style of coaching, of teaching, and have different things that we pay more attention to. And then you have coaches that specialize in thumb draw, in Slavic, in Mediterranean, in horsemanship, and so on. And for me, I have the yoga aspect in my training. So everybody is different. So I also encourage people to try different coaches and to also go visit clinics with another coach, even if you have a good coach, which is great that you have a good coach. But to attend clinics with people or to invite coaches to come is a great opportunity for everybody to learn because every coach can teach you something new and you can learn something new. So I really think try to motivate people, like invite people like Anna or Christoph or me or Josie, many more people that come if you ask them. So ask people to come and join clinics before competitions because it's a great way to learn.
How do you change your training routines during different kind of seasons? Do you train the whole year same way, or do you change a bit tactics?
Yes, I'm not a good example because I will be honest here. Okay, so I don't like being cold. I really don't, and I hate shooting when my fingers are cold because honestly, it hurts so much. So I really applaud everybody that is training on a regular basis in winter with cold fingers. Props to you and hats off. But me personally,
it's no chance you are moving to Finland.
yeah, exactly. Like, I'm so impressed by the Finnish team. And when I see their videos of training in the darkness in -20 in snowstorm, I'm like, okay, guys, come on. Like, very impressive. Let's put it like this. Okay, so my training. So during the competition season, I actually do more horseback archery and I do more arrows per week. So I shoot between 150 and 500 arrows per week during competition season. And in the off season, I focus more on other sports. So more strength training, cardio at the gym, more yoga to improve my flexibility and core strength, more riding. And also I focus more on training my horses like groundwork, liberty work and longing, such things, long trail rides in winter. So yeah, and then in winter I shoot between 0 and 150 arrows per week. So there is weeks where I shoot not at all. Like November, for example, it happens a lot because then it starts being cold and we are not used to it yet and we lack energy and motivation to deal with it. And maybe there's also a bit of post competition season depression where you're just, oh no, competition season is over and you're sad and then you just don't want to shoot. which is fine. And then I try to shoot a bit more when the spring comes, because then you're motivated and you know, hey, competitions are coming soon. I should practice. And then you try to start shooting. And then I think it's important that you don't start from 0 to 300 arrows per week. So then you should really pay attention to start with 100 arrows a week, which really sounds like very little, and it is. And then you just work your way up. That's at least how I try to do it.
Very interesting.
Yeah, for me, in October, you can still have competitions. Mostly, we have the German Championship at the end of the competition season, which is usually then in September. But definitely, so October still could be some competitions, but definitely November, December, January, February, March, no competitions. Maybe in April is the first competition, and then usually the latest in March we start. So between November, let's say between November and April, no competitions.
How long is your competing season? Like Sweden, it's so different between south and north. So our season is not as long in the north as it is in the south. Yeah, in north of Sweden we have snow like September to May, but like you one, you live south. I mean, do you even get any snow?
Yes, maybe some in December, but mostly it's January, maybe February.
Yeah, hey, let me know if somebody else has great ideas. But I think good opportunity is when you can shoot somewhere inside. So at least the ground archery, because ground archery you can do a lot in winter, and then you just have to play games and so on where you move a lot and do like squats while shooting and running while shooting, so you don't get too cold. Yeah, or sometimes between every set of arrows I shoot, I do equal amount of push-ups as I shoot arrows. Then you also get quite warm. It's, of course, it's harder, so it's easier in a group, definitely. So find someone to do it with if you're cold. It's more fun. And for us, it's just a problem that snow is not so much the problem. If we have proper snow, we can train horseback archery, but the problem is if the ground is frozen, then it's just too hard for the horses to canter on. It can harm their joints, and it's slippery and uneven, and then it's dangerous. So when we have proper snow, we can actually train. But the problem here is that it used to be different, but thanks to climate change, we don't get so much actual good soft snow anymore, and therefore the days in winter where we can train horseback archery and canter are fewer. We train more in walk and in trot, and walk postal matches in winter are a great opportunity to keep motivation up and to still be on the horse and shoot.
How is it? Is it no possibilities to be inside in arenas or something around you?
Yeah, for me personally, we have a indoor archery place. It's part of the barn. So there used to be a hay stock there, and we now use it for archery. So at my place, you can do archery indoor on 20-meter distance, even. So it's very nice, and it's also cold, but it's dry and no wind, and that's already big bonus.
Yeah, but with the horse for training horseback archery inside.
Yeah, we don't have that. We don't have a riding hall or riding like an arena with a roof. We don't have.
Yeah, okay.
I think Annie mentioned a lot of tips for training in the winter and in the cold in the episode that we have with her. I think she mentioned both how to dress and how you can use wool to keep you warm, but also other kind of tips. So maybe that's great for those who wonder how to manage the winter to listen to her episode.
Great. I'll make sure to check it out. I'm sure she has good ideas about it.
Do you use grading anything? I mean, in these sports, beginner is competing against the really more experienced people, and that sometimes maybe can feel a little bit hopeless to never be able to stand on their first place. But um, you can use grading a lot to see that you actually are moving forward. Do you use it for yourself and your students?
Yes. So, me personally, I am quite a fan of the grading system, the grading concept of the IJA. So, currently, I have my Horseback Archer 4. I achieved it this year. And my next goal is, of course, to be Horseback Archer 5. I already have my 2 tower scores for that, just lacking my raid. And I hope that next year I can achieve my Horseback Archer 5 and that I can also maybe get already some Horseback Archer 6 scores. Yeah, that's currently the goal for my students. A lot of them are not yet on the level for Horseback Archer grades. And I will start with the student grading next year. I want to try it because I think it's a great opportunity for them also to be motivated. And I do postal matches with them. So I think it's a really good opportunity to motivate yourself and your students. And I think it's a great way to compare yourself or to be able to tell how good someone is. It's an easy way when you just check online what grading do they have, and then you have a really good idea of their level, which is sometimes really helpful when you are also looking maybe for a coach, or when you've seen a video and you want to know like, okay, is that good or not? So also for people that are new in the sport to have an idea how good someone is. So yeah, that's sort of my opinion on the grading. So I really encourage people to do it.
You was one of the sports commentator on the Europe Championship. I must say you did a really good job, but how was it? Can you please tell us?
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, honestly, that was so awesome. It felt very, very special to be able to do that, both to be there as we did like a step into the future of the sport, and because I was sharing with the world what I loved the most. So it was very special to me.
And very professional.
Thank you. Yeah, and to me it was new experience. So I've never done anything like that before, but I really enjoyed it. And after doing that, and I really started to reconsider my choice of profession and to maybe be a sports commentator. I still have it on my mind. So if all else fails, I know there's still something I might try. And also, if the sport really blows up and goes big as I expect it will at some point, then I guess they will need someone to comment on it. And who knows, maybe I will be the commentator of the Olympics one day. You never know where life takes you. And no, and
Let's hope for it.
yeah, and it was really the camera team, like hats off to those guys. Incredible. They did such an amazing job because they had no clue what they were getting themselves into. They've never seen the sport before. They were super amazed of it, by the way. They were blown away of this incredible sport. And they were working like 6, 8 hours, right, nonstop. And the heat, listen, it was so, so hot there. And with the cameras and the computers, and it's lots of huge data that's being processed, right? So they produce so much heat additionally to the heat that we already had there. So in that camera tent we had like 43 degrees Celsius, and they were working there nonstop, and they had to film and cut, and they even put the names and the points and everything. And you can see when you rewatch the live streams, right? You can still watch them. Like, people, if you have not seen it, go watch it. It's absolutely brilliant. You find it on YouTube. If you enter the Nemethy Academy on YouTube, then you can find it. And the live stream got better and better. Like, every day when you compare like the beginning to the end of the stream, you can really see how they improved and how the camera team got an understanding of what's important to show and how to cut it. And it was really live. We had like less than a second delay to the real thing. So when I was in this camera tent, I sat there, and it was between the tower and the raid track. For people that have been in Hungary and know a little bit the layout. So I could see both tracks from where I was sitting. So I could see the actual rider doing the real thing. And I had my own screen in front of me where I could see what the camera was showing, right? What they were showing at the moment to the live stream. and the delay was very minimal, and it was really incredible to see both at the same time in a way. And yeah, and there were some amazing moments in there. Some days I was talking for like 4 hours nonstop. It's much more exhausting than one might expect, even for someone like me that really likes to talk. And you have to be very focused also in what you're saying, and that you keep your English clean in your pronunciation and the speed and so on. And I really enjoyed working with the camera team. We got really good like sign language over time, the way to communicate. And also together with Nico Thielen from Luxembourg, who does things like that for a living. So he also gave me good advice, and commentating together with him was the most fun. And then we were commenting in like 3 different languages at once sometimes. So he was doing French and I was doing English, and then we were doing sometimes German. And yeah, it was lots of fun. And I think the quality was great, and with the recaps in slow motion, and you could see all the different techniques in close up. And I think when you watch that, you can also learn a lot. Like for me, I learned a lot from watching it and seeing it in high definition, up close and slow motion. And you can see the world champion shooting, and you're like, ah, okay, this is how you're supposed to do it.
It's easier to look at it than doing it, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
It was really amazing for us to be able to sit at home and actually follow it in the live stream and be able to see and watch all our friends. I think it was a great live stream that Christoph managed to do.
It really is, and the good thing is it's all still there on YouTube. So it just feels weird to hearing myself talk, but yeah.
This really, I think, gave us all a vision about how this sport can be, but it's for sure not maybe not so easy to manage, but it really gave us all a dream about how we can be if the sport could be more on TV.
Absolutely, I agree, and I hope that people can do it. However, I know how much it costs, Christoph, to do it, and I know how much loss Christoph made on this competition, like how much of his personal money he put into this competition. So I think that most organizers will not do such a thing.
He really set the bar high.
Yes, and I think he did it to show the opportunity and to see how it would work, if it would work. And I think if we want to have things like that in the future, we need more money. We need sponsors. So the thing is, it's a bit of a dilemma, yeah, because to get sponsors, you need to have publicity. And to have publicity, you need money. But to have money, you need sponsors. So you see, you're running in a devil's triangle. So that's why Christoph did it, because he put his money in to like start it, so that maybe we will find sponsors that say, "Oh, cool, there's new opportunity to be sponsor for that." And that maybe then we can get it back on the long term. But it's a risky game.
Do you have any thoughts about these sports in the future? How it can be both international and maybe in German?
Very good question. For Germany, I think things that would be important for the future is that we are open-minded, that we are internationally orientated, that we are youth friendly to support the youth, and obviously that we prioritize horse welfare, because it is after all a partner sport. And I think the same should go for worldwide sport, to be a partner sport, and that the horse should be our main focus. Me personally, I also think that on the long term, we should go away from the straight tracks. I think they have value, they are very important for our sport, and especially for beginners. But I think on a higher level, things like the hunt track have much bigger value, and we can put more emphasis on the riding part. And I personally would like that. I would also like if we have a bit more of a team aspect in the sport that, for example, you have something like where you come as a team and not everybody does all styles, but you're collecting points, or there's a system how the team is very relevant. I think that would be really, really cool. And I think a multidiscipline sport would be cool, like a combination between pegging and other riding sports, and to combine it with horseback archery, that you have, for example, like triathlon, that you have like three different things and you must do them. So you go one way shooting, then you leave the bow and you grab a lance, and then you must collect the ring and things like that. I think would be cool, that you have riding exercises and different, maybe even change of weapon and so on, to get it even more interesting for audiences to watch it.
Yeah, that sounds like a really fun competition, I must say.
Yeah, there's people doing that already in some countries. So in Switzerland, they, for example, have the Swiss track. That's more of a riding agility, horsemanship, and archery combination. So you have to do exercises with your horse, things that are difficult for horses, like scary objects, and then you need your horse to stand still while you shoot, or you need to do a slalom, then you need to do a lead change in like you need to canter a circle. Like it's a bit like working equitation and horseback archery combined. So that, for example, I think would be very, very cool to prove a bit more the connection between horse and rider, and how important that is for horseback archery. But yeah, but the straight tracks are also really important. So I think both are important, and we can already see how much more important the hunt track has become, as we now have a really distinctive set of rules for it. And because, for example, next year Alan Legal is planning to do a horseback archery competition that only includes hunt tracks. So there will be 3 different hunt tracks and no straight tracks whatsoever. So I'm really excited about that as well.
It sounds serious, really fun. I can see the picture for me.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite memory?
Wow, what a wonderful question. Yeah, I really love that question. And thinking about this makes me realize that most of my favorite memories around horseback archery are not me sitting on a horse shooting, but are memories surrounding the horseback archery and the horseback archery community and the wonderful people, horses, and places that I connect with it. And also, a lot of them are connected to teaching and my students' success. So, of course, Hungary, the Nemeti Academy, the place, the Magyava Tabor is called, always has a special place in my heart because it feels like my second home. And I love to be there. And yeah, it's a very special place for me. So just sitting there watching the sunset and the horses, and I can immediately see the flags from the competition waving in the wind, and I can smell it. And it's also a very wild place with a lot of nature. And yeah, it feels very special, this place. And then Mongolia, of course, is one of the first things that comes to mind when I think about favorite memories from horseback archery, because Mongolia was a childhood dream for me to to go there and to see the country, even long before I started doing horseback archery. So Mongolia was there long before I even knew what horseback archery is, and then to be there and do horseback archery was absolutely mind blowing. And Mongolia is so beautiful with these rolling hills that stretch for incomprehensible distances and these barren grasslands. It's just so much freedom, so much space that my German brain couldn't comprehend it. And I talked about the horses already, how special they are. And the same goes for the people there. They have such a great sense of humor and they are great dancers. So, one of my favorite memories is when the Mongolians were teaching us to dance their traditional dance. And it's gorgeous to look at and like reminds you of an eagle flying. So they stretch out their arms next to their body and they put their feet in a wide, low stance or kneel on the ground to be more connected to the earth. And then they put their shoulders up and down in the rhythm of the music and their upper body front and back at the same time. And then they move their arms in a sort of a waving motion like wings. And we were doing this dance under the free skies, and I can like still hear the drums and feel this freedom and this endless distance. And the horses were grazing a couple of 100 meters away, and the girls in the background, there's huts that they built there and the sunset. So that, for example, was really one of my absolute favorite memories of horseback archery.
It sounds really amazing.
Yeah, and I think that when you think about things like that, and also the joy that you can feel with other people's success, because for me personally, I don't think I've reached yet what I wanted to reach to fulfill my potential, to be maybe first place, or to get my horseback archer 6 or 8 grading, or wherever it will take me. So I'm not satisfied yet where I am, and that's fine. But other people's success can give you so much happiness. For example, Jules from France had an incredible hand track at the European Championships in Hungary. And it just touched me so deep in my soul to see somebody doing the impossible. And I was lucky enough, like in the live stream, if you watch it, you will understand what I'm talking about. And you can hear in the live stream, I'm commenting and I'm absolutely blown away. And then the moment that he goes through the finish line, I say something, and then I say, "We will be right back." And then the sound like cuts off. You can hear that I muted my microphone because I needed to start screaming out of absolute joy for what he had just achieved. And then I ran to him to tell him how amazing it was. And I was the one to tell him his points. I asked him, "Hey, can I tell you your points?" He was like, "Yeah, sure." And I told him his points, and it was like 170. He was like 30 points ahead of second place at the time. Um, and his happiness, his disbelief and utter happiness gave me so much joy. It still gives me goosebumps to think about it. And it's amazing what people can achieve in this sport. And I think horseback archery is a key to unlock inner peace, happiness, and greatness, just greatness. And to be a perfect horseback archer, you must become the very best version of yourself. And that's why I love the sport.
I think we have a lot of listeners that maybe have not started this sport yet or just begun to do this sport. Do you have any tips to all our beginners?
Yeah. So if you have not tried, I hope that after listening to these podcasts, that you absolutely want to try it. And if you have just started with it, trust the process. Be patient, one step at a time. It's a very complex sport. Enjoy the little victories. Enjoy every step of the way. Don't rush. Don't rush the way up. Do lots of ground archery. In the beginning, I say the ratio is 1 to 1,000. So 1,000 arrows on the ground for 1 arrow on horse. So you must understand that if you want to be good, you must do a lot of ground archery, in my opinion. Try different techniques because there's such a huge variety of ways how to do horseback archery: Mediterranean, Slavic thumb, different fixed points, different loading techniques, different quivers. Try it, and don't let people tell you this is the best, this is the best. No, you choose what feels the best for you. You can listen to advice from people, but generally there's not the best technique. So choose what feels comfortable and just what feels right. And as I said earlier, attend clinics with good coaches like Anna Minkinen, Christoph Nemeth, Alain Legal, Josie Müller from Switzerland, and there's many more. So join clinics and trainings, or if you cannot, then try maybe the online learning from Christoph Nemeth from the Nemeth Academy. So these are the tips that I can maybe give. But the most important is Trust the process, take it slow, and enjoy every step of the way.
It's really good advice. And also for everyone who listening and don't know if they have any trainer in their country or want to go to other countries for training, a lot of trainers come to your country to train, like Christoph in Asia at the moment, or Anna Minkinen is in Sweden now. So you get a lot of opportunities if you just ask around.
Yeah, and if you really have financial issue, there's also a special thing that I offer. So we do work and travel in our place. So if you want to do horseback archery, but you cannot really afford so much, then you can come stay at my place and you can help with the work. So you will take care of our horses, clean the stable, feed the horses, such things. And in return, you can live here for free and you can have food for free and you can have some horseback archery lessons for free. So there is always a
When can I
way.
come?
For sure. But you must stay. So the minimum is that is 2 weeks. Otherwise, it makes no sense. So, but be brave to talk with people because, in my experience, money is never the limiting factor. So, if you think my limiting factor is money, you are wrong. There is a way to do it. So, be brave to talk to people, and you will find opportunity to do it.
With all your students, what would you say is the youngest and the oldest? So if people are thinking about if they are too old or too young.
So my youngest archery student is 6 years old, but I don't do horseback archery with them yet. My youngest horseback archery student is 12 years old, and my oldest horseback archery student, I don't know exactly, it feels impolite to ask, but 60 for sure. So there's no such thing as being too old.
Yeah, as long as you can sit on the horse, right?
Exactly. As long as you can sit on the horse and you have enough core strength to support yourself. And if you don't have, you can do exercises at home to improve it.
So, Johan, always when we are about to finish our episodes, then you uh, then you remember all your questions that you do not have asked yet. So before we end, do you have any more questions?
Yeah, I got a bunch actually, but the time is running away. So maybe we can take it for the future. Like I was thinking about this ADHD you were talking about. It was
Yes,
that it was helping you. It was really interesting.
it's very interesting.
And but I understand that's gonna take time to go through and gonna be more questions.
Yeah, that will take time. I also teach people that have multiple sclerosis and so on. So I work with people with various disabilities. So it's very interesting topic. And but fear not, I intend to write a book about it at some point if I have time in my life, and I feel like I know enough about it to write a book because there's much potential, especially for ADHD. There's so much potential there.
As you say, Johan, it's so much more we could talk with Hannah about. Maybe we could do a second episode and then we could ask our listener if they have any questions and they can send them to us and we can do a episode with Hannah again in maybe 2 or 3 months.
Awesome. That sounds like a great idea. I'd love to.
Yeah, and also this you said you had back issues and you started with the horseback archery.
Yeah,
That's also I think it's quite a big area to talk about and leading to more questions.
absolutely.
So we don't have time for it today, I think. But a lot of questions have started.
Yeah, time flies when you talk about things that interest you.
Hannah, I want to send you a really huge thank for this time and with you so generous have been sharing all your knowledge. It has been a really amazing to talk to you and I'm really hope that we can have a second episode with you.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for what you're doing for the horseback archery world. I think it's very important that we talk about it and we give people opportunity to hear about horseback archery. And I really love this format of the podcast, and I'm curious to hear all the episodes from future releases from your podcast. And I thank you so much for your time and all the wonderful questions you've asked today. And thank you to the listeners as well for taking the time to listen to all these wonderful stories.
So thank you, Hannah, and to all our listeners. See you next week. Goodbye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye. Take care.